So, on the last installment of the series, I was able to get gold on each of the tracks of the day for November of 2020. With the track currently playing, Midnight Metropolis by HTIMH being the top rated track of the month. One thing I would like to note for the series going forward is that there will be one change. It was very tough to grade and rank every track fairly and give an unbiased opinion towards certain styles of tracks that I may or may not like more. Therefore, I will only be giving my top 5 tracks instead of giving a rating to every single one. With that said, how will we fare in the month of December? Can I make it 6 months in a row of being able to gold each track? And which track will be my top rated this month? Let's find out. Starting us off on the 1st of December is Highlands by Cactus Jack. It's a fairly simple track, a fairly easy gold, really nothing to write home about. I'd say it's a basic track overall, with maybe a little bit of an interesting ending where you fly through the air and go through a ring checkpoint with the booster. So yeah, it's just a basic average track, and it shouldn't be too hard to gold if you are going for that. The track for December 2nd was Frosty Airfield by I'm Ray HD. Pretty basic track again. This one was maybe a little more interesting because it's got this huge ice field here, and you can take it however you'd like. You can go inside here, outside here. I do believe this outside part is faster because you have to get pretty straight into here to make this jump cleanly, and I feel like it is basically needed for a gold time on this one. It did feel a little slow, mainly due to the ice update, I believe, so I can't really hold that against the track. Did make it a little bit more difficult, but still got the gold here just barely. And here we are on December 3rd with our number 1 track already. It is Dream World by Iraqis. This is a speed tech track, and it is also an extremely difficult track. As you can see, I spent an in-game amount of time of 1 hour and 30 minutes to get this, which means I probably spent at least 2.5 hours on it. Yeah, just extremely difficult track, but overall very enjoyable, clean lines throughout. That drift we just passed was really the big key to this one. If you can get that cleanly, which it is very hard to do, then you will have a ton of speed to get up through these next couple sections and get the gold. But yeah, very, very tough track, but also very enjoyable. The track for December 4th was Ferry Drift 2 by Alibi W91. Did not really care for this track at all. The whole thing just felt kind of awkward, and the drifts were just really weird. Nothing really seemed to work smoothly on this one, so I can't really give this one a huge recommendation. It was one of my least favorite tracks of the month. Yeah, the whole thing just did not feel very good and clean to drive, and I much prefer the first iteration of this track. That's about all I got to say about this one, and we'll let the rest play out. December 5th's track was Iraqis by Avarios96. This was a mostly flat dirt track, which really isn't my favorite type of track, but this one was alright. There was a bit of a problem near the ends where there's a big speed check, which I'm not a fan of. As you can see, when we get to it, we'll barely make it, but we're a little bit off right now. Yeah, I just really don't like flat dirt too much. It's not terrible. It's just really not my thing. But here's the speed check right here. Barely make it over, get a nasty bounce, but still was able to carry it on. But yeah, if you're pretty slow there, you're kind of just screwed. So hope you're fast enough for that. Here you're gonna want to go far right. So many times I went till further left and just end up crashing into the rocks. And then he's got a big jump to the end. But again, just an alright track here. The track for December 6th was Circuit Indianapolis, number 14 by Symptom. This is a multi-lap, not a NASCAR track surprisingly. You know, I think by the name it'd be a NASCAR, but not really the case. Got a bunch of very slow drifts in here, and I do bonk a lot on this track. One right there we just passed. I know I'll have a pretty big crash later on. But yeah, pretty easy gold, obviously, with a bunch of crashes in there. Still got it. First attempt even. So really this one's not too bad. It is a bit long, but the multi-lap does help that out a bit. With it being the same 2 laps, averaging, I don't know, 40 seconds or so, I guess. But yeah, really not much to write home about this. I think this is where I'm going to have a big crash here going into this corner, because it's kind of hard to see it coming up. Yeah, just absolutely smashed into it. But we end up being fine here with the golds. And yeah, not much else to say about this one. Pretty basic again. I know I keep saying that, but that's what it is. But yeah, I'll let the rest of this one play out. Enjoy. December 7th track was Fury Road by Valve. This was a mixed track with dirt and road. It was very nice flowing track, and it comes in at the number 4 spots for this month. Yeah, overall it was very nice. Jumps were smooth, all the transitions were pretty smooth, despite my lap not being the best here. I do replay some of these to see if they are any better. And yeah, this one was pretty good. Just, yeah, very smooth, flowing, and excellent track overall. That's about all I got to say about this one. Enjoy the rest of it. The track for December 8th was Abrupt Decay by the Kraz. I didn't really care for this one too much. The start felt a bit awkward, whether to drift or let go. I really had no idea what I was going for on some of these turns. Just did not feel all that smooth at the starts, and the end is a bit challenging as well. We'll talk about that once we get to it, but overall it wasn't the worst track ever. It was just plain okay. I got a wall right here, but then we're going to be transitioning to some dirt very soon here. This is really not a problem. I didn't mind this section too much, but here coming up, we're going very fast into this upcoming turn. It's kind of hard to see, but you got to really crank the car to the right there. Otherwise, you're just going to slam into the rocks ahead of you. And then getting through this section was also pretty difficult, sliding on the dirt, but we managed to get the gold. The track for December 9th was Box to Box by Riolo TM, the one and only. Yeah, this track was just okay. It could have been better. This first section here in the dirt, you had to be so slow, and you had to maintain this third gear to get gold. There was no question about it. And then this turn here had to be so perfect to get... Like, everything about this had to be so perfect to get this gold, because this bobsled section here with the new ice update was so slow compared to any other ghost that I faced. It was kind of ridiculous, and it put me so far behind every single time. That turn right there was pretty bad, so I'm surprised I got gold with this one. But yeah, the track was, it was fine. The bobsled section was extremely difficult, though, with the ice update, like I said. But yeah, this is about the final turn here. Go up and over this ridge, and that'll be the end of the track. The track for December 10th was Golden Age NASCAR by Priez, the one and only Priez. He makes a ton of NASCAR tracks over the past few months. He is back yet again. I believe he even has another one here at the end of the month. Yeah, NASCAR track, really not much to say about it. Pretty much full speed throughout with a couple of gas let goes here and there. This one is a little more unique with the color on it. Obviously Golden Age, so it's supposed to be kind of depicting, you know, probably like old color TVs and stuff of that nature. But yeah, NASCAR track, really not much to say. Very long, multi-lap. Yeah, that's about it. We'll let this one play out. The track for December 11th was Vertigo by Madu. It was a pretty cool track. I definitely liked it. Not enough for the top 5, probably a top 10 track. But yeah, it was a pretty good one. Lots of ups and downs, lots of drifting. It was a pretty unique track, to say the least. You don't really see this type of stuff going on anymore. At least I haven't. But yeah, it was a pretty cool one. Basically tech track. Yeah, not a ton else to say about it here, so we'll let the rest play out. Enjoy. The track for December 12th was Jumpy Jack by Cactus Jack. This was a transition heavy track with some tech turns in here, but you'll see lots of jumps throughout, going from road to dirt and vice versa. But yeah, it was a pretty good, decent track here. I didn't mind it too much. Probably another top 10 track if I had to just take a stab at it off the top of my head. The only issue I had, it was really this turn here, but it's not a huge deal. I just wish there was maybe a little bit of direction in that loop, whether it be arrows or something to try to guide you, because it was tough to figure out otherwise. But it still didn't take us too long, but then we just got an easy jump to the finish here. Just barely snuck out the gold. December 13th's track was Learn to Fly by Madu again. 2 in the last 3 tracks. This one was certainly interesting. A unique mechanic used here, floating above all these blocks. Then we got some heavy drifts at the ends, which are honestly pretty difficult to do. Yeah, I can't say I liked the track. It wasn't bad. It was certainly unique. It's not something I would regularly enjoy to see, but it was fine for a one-off idea, I suppose. But yeah, that's about it. Just fly over all the stuff, drift at the end. Coming up right after this turn, we'll have a little climb up here, up the wall, and again, we'll just be flying over some stuff to the finish line. The track for December 14th was Breeze by Cedo Z. It was a pretty nice track here. I enjoyed it a lot. Not enough to make the top 5, but enough to probably get the top 10. It flowed pretty well. Maybe some turns I didn't care for too much, but overall it was a pretty good track. Yeah, very tech heavy, obviously, as you can see throughout. Lots of drifting. A lot of tight lines everywhere, so it's a very tough track if you're not capable of drifting very well. Yeah, I struggled a little bit, over 15 minutes on this one, so it did take me a little bit longer than most tracks. But yeah, overall, pretty good one here. Definitely a top 10 pick. But yeah, that'll be it for the commentary on this one, as the end is coming up right here. The track for December 15th was Jungle by Pop Hip. This was an alright track. I found some spots pretty awkward, including this beginning section here where you take that loop and you gotta come back around. Then you got some blind turns in here, which I didn't really care for. Very hard to see in some spots as well. A lot of the lines just didn't feel all that great. Felt kind of more focused on scenery than maybe the routes, but I don't want to go into that too much. But yeah, the track was just okay in my opinion. Certainly could have been worse. That's all I'll say. But yeah, enjoy the rest of this one. The track for December 16th was Buried in Sand by Zwirlicht. This one was okay again. Really not much to say about it. A lot of long lines that you kind of just have to hold or maybe release a little bit on. Otherwise, it turns out to be just a pretty short track. I do get a little bit lucky inside here when I take this line. I go underneath that. Very surprised that didn't cost me really much at all. But yeah, there's just a lot of long lines, which really makes this track play very short, as right now we're already at the end and jumping to the finish. The track for December 17th was Greenwashing by Neil Ryan TM. Interesting track here. I found this one was very fun to drive. Though I don't know how long I could stand it. You're kind of just going in circles for, I'd say, like 70% of it here. A lot of jump transitions, just continue to go in circles. It's fun to try to hunt these lines, get it as best as possible. But again, I don't know how long I would want to do that, but it's a very cool concept. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. Another one that's probably a top 10 here. And right here at the end, barely made this finish, but managed to snipe it. December 18th track was Edge Transit by Roxy. This one is deceptively hard, despite me getting this one pretty early here, only 8 minutes in, 26 attempts. But these turns are all pretty difficult tech turns. So many close shaves on all these, and you really need to be pretty dang fast on this one to get the golds. And you need to really shave all these as close as possible to get it. And it does end up as our number 3 track because of it. Very tough, very challenging, but very satisfying to drive on this one. Yeah, highly recommend it. A few more turns here and we'll be at the end. So yeah, very nice track right here. The track for December 19th was Valhalla by Supranova TV, and you'll probably never see a sloppier run get gold, as this one is a complete disaster. I did not care for this track at all. The whole thing is super awkward. I do not know what this track was supposed to be honest. Like, every wall super close to you, then you get these weird ice bumps all over the place. It was a disaster of a track, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, the whole thing super weird. I just have no idea what on earth this was. But yeah, but then we go into this super dark section. Very hard to see what is going on here. You just gotta hope and pray for the best, I guess. This would probably be one of the worst rated tracks of the month. If I would have to guess, it was just not good at all. The track for December 20th was Arches by the Kraz. This was an alright track. I did find one section of it pretty awkward, and a lot of it was also very tricky to try to maintain ground contact. Like, example, that turn right there, and then coming up out of here, I did get a little airtime, but it really wasn't that bad. But coming up right here, these turns were extremely difficult, and I had to let go a lot in order to make this turn into a loop, because I kept bonking so much. And it's really the hardest part of the track, in my opinion. Maybe the end is a little tough. It's a very narrow gap you got to drive through. But, yeah, getting up to that loop was extremely difficult. And then maintaining ground contact again, transitioning into that turn. And then coming up very shortly, we'll have the end, which is a very small hole you got to try to get through. And yeah, I bonked here a few times, but overall not too bad. The track for December 21st, and coming in at our 5th spot this month, is Take a Break by Shamsy. And this will be our first non-gold medal ever, finishing with a silver. I spent so long on this track, I could just not muster up, even getting close to the gold. Still 1.3 seconds behind with this lap, and even if you look at this lap, you're like, dang, this looks pretty clean. It's the best lap I put down. Even if I got the risky finish on this one, I probably still would be a second off. It was such a ridiculous time. And anytime I was ahead on this jump right here, I would have so much speed, I would hit the checkpoint. It's just an absolutely insane gold time for this. So we'll come back to it later when the series is over and hope we can get that gold. The track for December 22nd was Stepe by DDKWG. This track was alright, a lot of grass on this one, and it's going to be pretty much full speed with maybe a drift or let go here and there, but mostly going to be a full speed grass map. Again, it was just alright, didn't really think anything too special of this one. Yeah, again, just an okay track. We'll let the rest play out. Enjoy. The track for December 23rd was Desert Highlands by Strobe Waffle. Pretty basic tech track here. There's really nothing too special about it. It was enjoyable to drive though. It was pretty smooth overall. I wouldn't say maybe a top 10, but maybe just outside. Definitely a top 15 track this month. Because, yeah, it was just perfectly fine. But nothing really super special about it. Pretty basic scenery. Pretty basic route. It was just, yeah, it was just about average, I'd say. So we'll let the rest of this one play out. Enjoy the rest of the track. December 24th track was Light in the Dark by Squaxis. Pretty decent track here. Another one, top 10, maybe top 15 track. Really the beginning here was probably one of the tougher parts. You don't know how many times I hit that yellow pole we just passed. It was probably like 90% of the runs lost right there. Yeah, but rest of it not too bad, really. I did struggle a bit on some later transitions coming up here shortly. Just jump right here from the sausage to this. Make sure you jump off the top of the sausage. You don't need to go off like the side or anything. And then I had a bit of a problem with this. Lost a couple of them here where I would hit this booster and then I would just go straight down and hit the wall right in front. So for whatever reason that didn't work sometimes, but overall pretty decent track right there. The track for December 25th was Atlantis City by AK Kanayu. And this is getting our second best ranking this month. Very nice track, scenery is great, overall the route is pretty good but very challenging. But yeah, a very nice track right here, obviously with the number 2 spot. I did have the most challenging parts coming up right here after this loop. There will be a jump, make sure you take that. Then you got to get through here and take this jump that is extremely difficult. One of the harder parts of the track. And yeah, the rest really isn't too terrible. We'll have a couple more jump spots here. This is I guess I have a speed check right there, but it's really not that bad at all. There's a safe route for it as well, so that is perfectly fine by me. And then just a couple more turns here, and upcoming is the finish. The track for December 26th was Daro Nust by Ratty Piken. An honorable mention that I wrote in for this one. I thought it was a pretty good one. Just outside the top 5. I guess I could have gave honorable mentions to some other ones, but I think this one was a bit more of an honorable mention because of some unique stuff about it. which will be coming up pretty shortly here. I believe after this we'll have another turn to the left, and then we'll be driving in some pipes. I guess there is yet another turn here before we get there. Alright, look like an idiot with how long it's taking. Here we go. Here is the pipes. Yeah, don't really see this too often, transition in the pipes. Very cool. There'll also be another one coming up a little bit later, but yeah, I thought that was pretty unique. Don't really see that at all anymore, or really ever, but here's another pipe. This one will take us to the end. Very nice, unique addition. The track for December 27th is Climate Change by Nova Terrorsh. Starting off here with the ice, which made me a little bit worried that this would all be ice. We would have a very tough time with the ice update in order to complete this one, but that was not the case. But what was the case is an enclosed track, which is not really my favorite. In fact, it's one of my most disliked type of tracks, although this one did a bit better than most, as a lot of the turns are a little bit widened where you have to turn, so that was a bit of a saving grace for this one. So overall it wasn't too terrible, but still easily bonkable on a lot of spots. But overall, this track was just okay in my opinion. Again, my bias is towards the enclosed track, so take that with a grain of salt. If you enjoy this type, then that's for you, but it's really not my type of track. December 28th track was Landslide by Cactus Jack, his third track this month if I'm not mistaken. This one was just okay. It didn't feel all that smooth to drive at points, with some very slow, awkward drifts throughout. And then at the end, there's also a very weird spot, which we'll talk about when we get there. But overall, yeah, just an okay tech track with a few jump transitions in there. Yeah, really not much else to say. Got a sausage jump here, and then upcoming very shortly, we'll have another jump. And then after this, there'll be this ice block here, which is meant to make you drift around there, but it felt very strange, to say the least. Well, that's the end of the track with that jump right there. The track for December 29th was Escape Hills by Jacker G. This one could have been an honorable mention. It's definitely a top 10, top 15 track, somewhere around that range. It was pretty cool. The scenery was alright. It's kind of the same-ish throughout, but they did use some unique stuff, like the buildings throughout, like you're driving down some actual roads. But really, this one is mostly full speed with a couple drifts here and there, and you really need to maintain the speed through these drifts, as the gold medal is pretty strong on this one. So yeah, maintain as much speed as you possibly can on a lot of these, and take everything else pretty much full speed. Have a bit of a wall ride here, and then a tiny bit more section, and then a jump to the end coming up very shortly. December 30th track was DD Valley City 4 by DDKWG. This one gets an honorable mention from me. It is, I wouldn't say it's the most standard of dirt tracks. It's a pretty cool dirt track. And obviously the look of the track in general is obviously pretty unique, and that's why it gets an honorable mention. It's just a very smooth track overall, and a very nice looking track overall. So shout out to this creator and this track for an honorable mention this month. I did go for another attempt on this one after getting the gold, because I knew the author was quite simple after seeing what time it was and what time I had on my sloppier gold run. So this is an author run, and if you want an easy-ish author, this is the track for you. Yeah, pretty cool track right here. Highly recommend giving it a try. And yeah, I'll let the rest play out here. And here we are on the final track of the month. December 31st, we got Kilimanjaro NASCAR by Priez. Again, the household name Priez NASCAR maker for the last few months. And again, multi-lap, 2 minutes here, so we're going to have a minute per lap. I'm sure I messed up in this run somewhere. I'm not sure. But yeah, really not much to say. Again, a NASCAR track, just mostly full speed, a couple gas let goes here and there. It's really nothing too special. I don't really care for the NASCAR tracks. I don't hate them, but I just have really just no opinion on them either way. They're just kind of there in my opinion. But we'll let the rest play out. We got a long way to go on this one. If you want to skip to the end, I honestly don't mind. It's a very long track. But yeah, we'll let the rest play out here. So that's it for December of 2020 and 2020 as a whole. Overall, I got 183 out of 184 golds for the year of 2020, with that missing gold coming in this month's video. My plan on these are to go back after I get through with every track and try again once my skills have improved. So I look forward to seeing how I fare on them in the future. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback for future iterations on this series, feel free to comment them below. As always, like the video and subscribe if you want to catch more Trackmania content. Also, be sure to check the description for links to my Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. Also, if you have Trackmania and Club access, be sure to join Club Teuty and check out all previous months of this series. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for January 2021's tracks.